Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So welcome to another one of our 1 minute book recs. This is where we go over all the books that we've read with 1 minute synopsises from the past week. And this week the last few days we're in Washington State and we're having this really cold week. I think our temperature today is slightly warmer than yesterday. So I think it was 14 when I looked degrees outside. And with the wind chill, it says it's 0, where yesterday it was below 0. So Mandy and I were just talking about how everything's dry. We're cracking. Like hair is just frizzy mess. So you're getting us at our best today. So told Mandy, she's like, you're awfully red. I'm like, I am not putting on foundation. My skin's dry and ticked off. Mandy's got chapped lips and chapped hands and frizzy hair too. Yeah, this is fun. So you're getting us at our best today. But we're going to talk some books. That's why we're here. So
yes. But before we get started, hit that subscribe button. You definitely want to subscribe so you can win free books on our channel. Yay! The graphic should be over here.
And I think it's over here.
It's over here for me.
It'll be over here for me.
Yeah, we're pointing in the you might be looking differently than I am, but we're both pointing at the same spot, Jessica.
Okay, good, because on my screen we're in different spots. We're opposite when we record.
Yes, so it's going to be here. Okay. And follow us on Instagram for an extra entry. Everything that you need to know is linked below. So let's get started.
All right. Okay, so tell me about your reading week.
All right, so I was pretty busy this week, so I got 5 books in.
That's it? Not that's it, but like no stars?
Wow.
No, I meant the stars.
I actually didn't. I didn't have a 5-star book this week.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't either.
Oh, okay.
Well, I read 11, and like you said, you were looking at mine. I did several rereads. I was just having one of those weeks where I couldn't get into anything. I do have some new stuff in here too, but I did a few rereads trying to pull myself out of a funk. And I didn't have any 5 stars. I had some 4.5 stars. I had some really great things. I had an advanced listener copy that I listened to this week that was amazing that we're going to talk about. But yeah, no 5 stars. It was just a very odd week. Had some pretty big letdowns. We're going to have some conversations. So, yeah.
So in those comments, how was your reading week? Tell us how your reading week was. What's the weather like where you are? Are you freezing? Are you in a tropical climate? Tell us what your weather's like.
Yeah, because I know like the East Coast is having some stuff. We're not the only ones that are having some weather. My friend lives in Montana and she was sending me some pictures today. Of her below 0 temperatures. So we're not the only ones. But
are you ready, Jessica?
I am ready for the first week's letdown. Yay! So I should know better. So the first book that I read is The Barbarian Stolen Bride by Jenica Snow. You guys know me. I love a good barbarian or Viking romance. So that's what this was supposed to be. This is supposed to be Viking. I've read a few Jenica Snow. She is just not the author for me. Here's the deal. Okay, I don't even know how to say this without sounding like an absolute bitch. But Mandy, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not continuation, it's continuity. That's the word. Continuity is a thing, okay? If you tell me that the heroine the hero is 3 times the size of the heroine, and then within the next paragraph, you tell me that her head is at the middle of his chest, and then you tell me that their chests are rubbing together 2 paragraphs later when they're standing up, they're not doing anything crazy, and then you tell me like that doesn't work. It's not working. She's not a toddler. I couldn't. It was so hard to. I've read several of her books, and they're all this way, and I have such a hard time with her stuff. Like, she sucks me in with the premise of the book because it was this Viking king and Vikings didn't have kings, they had jarls, but that's okay. Viking king who, it was a forced marriage thing. It was supposed to be good. Okay. I gave it 1 star. And I will not read another Jenica Snow. I'm done.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, do that. And I will probably never read another Jenica Snow because I read a few of them and they are all like this. And I want to. I hear other people talk about it. We must not be reading the same books.
I was going to say you might be kind of alone in this because I was just looking, grabbing the graphic for that book, and it's rated a 4.05 or something like that. So just barely over a 4. Definitely not a 1. No, probably was a 5, and then your 1 drove it down.
If you look at the actual reviews, though, of other people, they're saying the same things about how this author sucks them in, and it's always a letdown. And I have seen other books too. People talk about her books, and they always get excited about her books, and then I read them, and I'm like, what? She's not for me. Continuity for me is a big deal. It takes me out of the book if you don't continue telling the story the way you originally told the story. So, those are the things that trip me out. So sorry, I can't. If you guys like Jenica Snow, this is a special edition copy. I'll put it in my Pango bookstore. Have fun. So, I think it might even be signed. I could be wrong. There's a bunch of art with it.
I think we need to move on. You spend more time sometimes talking about the books you don't like than the books you do like.
Yeah, I know. It just drives me nuts. I can't stand it. Okay, anyhow, go ahead.
We're moving on now. Mm-hmm. All right, so my first read of the week was Good Gone Bad by Gianna Darling. This is part of the Fallen Men series. This is Danner and Harley Rose. So Danner is a cop. Harley Rose is the president of the MC Club's daughter. The story is told kind of in 2 timelines. So when they first meet, and Harley Rose is really little, I think she's 5 or 6, and Danner is 10 years older than her, and so he's, I don't know, I think he was 14 when he first meets her, and she's 6, so maybe that's 9 years. I don't remember exactly. So it goes back and forth between when they knew each other before and when and Zeus was in prison, which is Harley's dad, and then to present day where Danner is working undercover in a rival MC gang, trying to bring them down. Harley Rose gets herself into some trouble, and so she ends up trying to take this MC gang down too. I felt like this book had a lot of potential with him being a cop and being undercover, but I never got any of the angst or the forbidden pieces or what's the word I'm looking, I can't think of words today either, Jessica, that I guess just kind of the angst of him walking this fine line between being a cop and being part of the MC. And it felt like him and Harley Rose went very quickly to the BDSM stuff, and I just didn't follow all those connections. So it was not a 4-star read for me, but it's not a 3-star read either. It's 3.5, 3.75, or maybe a really, really low 4-star. I felt like it had more potential than what we got from it. And maybe I was expecting too much because I loved the first one. Not the first one, the second one. What's it called? The one with Zeus. Oh my gosh. I keep wanting to say Undeniable, but that's Deuce.
No.
Is it in the book?
Oh my gosh.
I know, this is horrible.
Well, I have a headache today too, so it's the weather. So my brain's not.
Oh, I'm gonna find it. Lessons in Corruption. Welcome to the dark side.
Welcome to the dark side. Lessons in Corruption is the first one. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Welcome to the dark side. So anyways, maybe that's kind of why it was a little bit of a letdown, as I was just expecting a little more angst from it, and it just didn't maybe other people got the angsty vibes from it, but I love the first one. I've heard the series is really good though, so I definitely am going to continue on, and I'll talk more about that.
Yeah, I've heard a few people say that one wasn't their favorite one. It wasn't my favorite out of what I've read of theirs, or out of that series, I mean. But I've heard a few people say it wasn't necessarily the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and they still liked the rest of it, so yeah. Okay. All right, so I did a reread after the dumpster fire that was Jenica Snow, and so that I did Twisted Emotions by Cora Riley. If you haven't read this, you really should. This is the second book in the Kimura Chronicles. You can read it as a standalone. I feel like you get way much more enjoyment if you've gone through the series, but this is Nino and Kiara's story. Now, this is a mafia romance, but it really focuses on the relationship more than the mafia elements, where the other books have a lot more mafia elements. So when Kiara was young, she was raped by an uncle. And so she has a lot of trauma. And she is in the mafia. She is, I think she's 19 at the time, 20. She's 20. She doesn't have, she's not married, and she hasn't been engaged. And that's like a huge thing. Like she's practically an old maid at this point, according to the mafia. And then you have, seriously, she even talks about it. And then you have Nino, who is a part of the Kimura. So he is Vegas and she's New York. She's part of the Familia. And the Kimura decide that they want an alliance. Nino's brother is crazy, Remo, and he's like, we're gonna have an alliance. And so Nino has no emotions, no feelings. He's cold and he can simulate emotions. And so these two get thrown into an arranged marriage together, and she has a lot of trauma, but Nino is perfect for her. I love their story. And after we talked about it in our all-time favorite books, I was having this moment of, that book before sucked, and I just need something, because I was starting all these books and nothing was working. I was like, I just need to go back to something I love. So I did that. So I love it. It's still a top. Okay, so what is your next book?
Okay, my next book goes into why I said that I would talk a little bit more about how I wanted to continue on with the series, because my next book is Fallen Sun, which is part of that series, but it's like a novella 2.5 in the series. Mm-hmm. And I should switch over to myself. Sorry. I don't know what's going on anymore. So this is Lou and Zeus from book 2. And there's some other characters involved from the other books, but mainly it focuses on the two of them. It's Christmas time. They go to get a tree, and up at the cabin, they find Aries, I think is how you say his name.
Aries?
And this, what?
Hold on.
Is it Aries?
Is it Aires?
Ares.
Probably Aries.
So this just sets up continuing the series, and now I'm done before my timer goes off because it's a novella, and it just sets up the continuation of the series, which made me very excited to continue on. So Good. Hearing you say that other people have said that just wasn't their favorite book, and knowing how much I loved that second book, I'm excited to continue on. And I've heard nothing but like great things about the newest book in the series that came out like a month ago or so.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So
I know, because that's good, because I've seen that novella and I'm like, do I need to read that novella? Like, so knowing it's just a Christmas one.
Well, it explains the fallen sun. So I haven't read the rest of it. I'm assuming it was fairly important based on what's happened in that book, but I don't know.
Okay. I already started the other book, so I don't know. The one after that, but
might just give you some backstory that you don't know.
Maybe. Okay. All right. So then I read The Selection, and this is by E.L. Lawson. This is the third book in her Not Their Omega series. So this is Omegaverse. This one is like The Bachelor. Yeah, I never know the difference. It's like between whether it's a guy or a girl. It doesn't matter. This is like The Bachelor, but royalty. So our Omega is going to the school for Omegas, and she finds out that they're going to the royal pack. So there's a pack of 3 guys who are going to inherit the throne. And they're going to run this competition to figure out who's going to be their next Omega. And originally it was supposed to be like a popularity contest. She thought that it was going to be she was going to be or people were going to be nominated from their peers. Well, it turns out it's teachers, and she wrote some big essay that one of her teachers loved, and they put her in. And so she got selected, even though she's there on scholarship. She's not wealthy, she doesn't have pedigree, but she ends up getting selected, and she goes. And when she gets there and she meets the prince, he's like, well, here's the deal, I like you a lot, but you can never be my Omega because you don't have that. The queen will never allow that. And so she, starts to fall for these three guys, but she can't ever be the one that's actually chosen. So she tries to help the other guys. So anyhow, I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. It was the 3rd in the series. I read the first 2. I like the second one a little bit better, but I do like the whole, it was like watching The Bachelor. It was cute. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it was cute for Omegaverse.
All right.
Okay, what do you got next?
Okay, my next book, is called Strong Enough by Kelly Elliott. This is the final book in the Meet Me in Montana series. If you've been watching our videos for a while, I have read the whole series, but it's taken me a very long time. So I skip around in series. I'm not good at staying with a series, and then I go back and I'll read a book and then I read something else. But anyways, so this is about Merritt and Dirk. And Merritt and Dirk were like best friends when they were kids. And this book is really hard to talk about because I don't want to give away spoilers, but something happens between the two of them that leads them to just go separate ways and not really talk to each other. And in book 3, they see each other at this party, and it really kind of sets up what we're going to see in book 4. You do not have to read book 3 to understand book 4, but that's when they first see each other again, and it's been a long time. So Dirk now has really kind of taken an interest in figuring out what's going on with Merritt. Merritt ends up moving back home right as Dirk is kind of reassessing if he wants to continue living the cowboy rodeo life. He's doing really well with bull riding, and he's kind of thinking, do I just want to go out on top, or do I want to keep doing this? And then some things happen that really kind of propel that decision forward. And then something else happens, which kind of forces them back into each other's orbit, but they just really have to work through some stuff first. So it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. Maybe I was really picky this week.
I don't know. I was just in a mood this week, which is part of the reason why I did several rereads, because nothing seemed to stick. I don't know what it was.
I have been in a mood this week.
I've been in a mood this week.
That's what your husband said anyways.
They interrupted mine and Mandy's conversation to talk about football, and then I forgot what I was trying to talk to you about. And I was like, 20 minutes later, I was like, can we go back? I don't even remember what we were talking about.
That really put you in a mood.
That totally put me in a mood. So I wanted to do a reread. So I wanted to read the book about the Viking because I knew it's one of my favorite Viking books, one of them. But it's been so long since I read the series, and you have to kind of read the series in order, that I was like, I need to read the first one first. So I pulled up Bride of the Traitor. This is by Haley Feynman. This is the first in a 4-book series. So each book is a different set of characters, but there's an overarching theme that you have to like stick with the series, or you have to do them in order. So this series follows 4 sisters. They're from our world, and there is this separate world that they get taken into, and there is this prophecy in this world that there are going to be 4 sisters that come from another place that hold magic. They don't know that they hold the magic, but they're coming. And when they meet up with their loves, the people who they're going to get with these 4 very powerful rulers, and then that's when their magic will come into play, and we don't know where the magic is going to be used for good or for evil. And these 4 sisters all look different. Well, this is what happens with Sibylla and her sisters. Her and her sisters have the same parents, but they look completely different. They have different colored hair, different colored eyes, the whole shebang. So Sibylla's the first one to get drawn into this world that has magic and stuff. And when she gets there, she's actually in a dungeon. She doesn't realize she's in a dungeon, and her man that she gets shacked up with here is a king, and it's this medieval type world, and there's magic in this world, so he thinks she's a witch immediately, and he's on guard with her, and it's her trying to figure a lot of that out. And then the second one is a Viking, so that's why I wanted to get into the Viking. But I still loved this whole series is awesome, and it's very underrated, and I enjoy it quite a bit. There's a lot of angst and fun stuff in that book. So highly recommend that one. It was good to do a reread. So what else you got?
Okay, so my next book is called Dr. Heartless by Jay Shaman. This is about Elle, who divorces her pro golfer, really famous husband because he's not physically abusive, but he's very mentally abusive, and it's really taken its toll on her. And so she decides that she's going to divorce him, packs up, and moves. She does not have a very good relationship with her parents, so she kind of is feeling a little alone, but she's just ready to start over. So she moves to a new town where a friend of hers helps her get a job as a middle school teacher. And the night before she goes out to this hotel and sitting in the bar, she's having a drink, and this really hot guy walks up to her and they have a one night stand. Well, the really hot guy has a twin, and they are billionaires. They're very famous in their town. And so he often, if he goes out, he's not the playboy type. He has a daughter at home, single dad. And so he often will get mistaken for his twin brother if he goes out at all. And so he just decides to go with that persona and be somebody he's not, basically, and be kind of that carefree party boy. And so he gives her the wrong name. And then the next day, they discover that they're neighbors, and she discovers that he didn't even give her the right name when they had their one night stand. And that kind of propels this story forward. And then it gets even a little more complicated because she is his daughter's teacher, too. So, okay. 4 stars. Enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. So the next book that I jumped into is the third book in the Kings of Italy series by Mila Finelli. So this is Mafia Madman. And this is about Gianna and Enzo. So we meet Enzo in the first 2 books. I think it's the book that we meet him. He's kind of tortured and he goes through some trauma. You could read this as a standalone. They just mention what happens. And I read that one years ago, and I couldn't remember a lot of it, and I was fine. So Gianna's sister is the heroine from the first book, and Gianna's dad is a mafia dude in Canada, and she is now in Italy. She's doing an internship at a fashion school or fashion designer place. Anyhow, obviously I know my terminology, and she's there under a false name, and Enzo wants to get back at the guy from the first book for hurting him and for attacking his family or holding his family at gunpoint. And he realizes that this guy's sister-in-law is in Italy, and he sees her. And so he decides that he's going to take her and keep her hostage on his boat, on his yacht, in a cage, like a shark cage, on his yacht, like a scuba diving shark cage. And he's going to use her in his plot to get revenge. And that's what we do. And so I liked it a lot. It was a solid 4 stars.
Does he keep her in the cage on the boat or in the water?
On the boat.
Okay.
She is deathly afraid. She almost drowned when she was a kid. So she is deathly afraid of water. Deathly afraid. So she has a twin sister, and I'll get to her book later. But yeah, so it was good. It was solid 4 stars. I really liked it. I still like their first 2 better. But I like that one. So
wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my next read is called "Oh No, I Lost My Timer." That's not what it's Okay, hold on. Sorry. This is the problem with having to do the timer and being the person who switches things. I have a lot of responsibilities on our channel.
You have to finger a lot of things there.
Oh, you're awful. Okay, I read More Than Sexy by Carly Phillips. And this is written in third person, so already I struggled a little bit with it just because I'm not a fan of third person. But this actually flowed pretty well, and I was able to follow the story and not get distracted by the fact that it was in third person. So that's a bonus for this book. So this is Faith and Jason. Faith is kind of she's on the run, but more like in hiding from her brother, who is a drug addict, and he keeps breaking into her place and stealing her stuff and just causing her a lot of problems. He keeps confronting her, trying to get money. And so she's now kind of in hiding from him. Well, he finds her again, slashes her tires, and leaves her stranded. And so Jason happens to be in the vicinity, and he sees her and he offers to help her. Then we kind of have to just go out on a little bit of a limb and jump on the Insta Love bandwagon, or Insta Protector bandwagon, maybe, because he's very concerned about her well-being and everything because of her brother. And so he says, you're just going to come stay with me. Okay, that's kind of the where we have to make that leap of faith. So she goes to stay with him. Jason, of course, has a lot of baggage and isn't looking for a relationship, and she is like ready to like jump head into this relationship. So I rated this book a 3.5, 3.75, not quite a 4, definitely not a 3 though. It's on the shorter side, just under 300 pages. And I felt like if the author would have developed a few more of it was really good. Lots of good things were happening in this book. And if that would have just been developed a little bit more, I feel like the book could have been a lot stronger. But I also get that if your purpose is to write a shorter book, you're not going to be able to do that. So then you might have to cut back on some things, which then maybe makes your plot so not great. So it's kind of a catch-22 in this situation. So that's what kept it from being that full, like 4 stars or more. Also, she's a curvy girl, and it is not hammered into our brains, which I love. So this was a definite example of our heroine being a little bit curvier. Even the model on the cover shows that, although I would still say the model's skinny. But it was definitely done right. I hate curvy girl where it's like, oh, I'm so overweight. And you have to read that over and over and over again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So my next one is a prime example of reading being subjective to the reader, because this was in a lot of my this is in my Dark and Disturbed reading group on Facebook, and there was a lot of talk about how great it was, and I didn't think so. Okay, so this is called Call Me Freak, and it's by J.A. Rolls. And so this is supposed to be a dark stalker romance. So this is about Dimitri and Sparrow. So this is told mostly from Dimitri's point of view. Dimitri, it starts out with him being in a psych ward. It actually starts out with him being a teenager, and he breaks into Sparrow's house, or he calls her Sparrow. It's not her actual name, but he calls her his Sparrow. But he breaks into her house and has sex with her without her realizing that they're having, like, that who he is. She's masked, and he tells her just keep the mask on. Like, she has like a sleep mask on, and he makes her keep it on. So she has no clue who's doing this to her, and he does it like in the summers when he's around her all the time. Then we fast forward several years later, and he's in a psych ward, and he's playing the game to try and get out. Like, he's got some major anger issues. He's very violent. He has definite mommy issues. Yeah. Gets out, starts stalking her. Things go from there. Gets very violent, gets very weird. Now, what the heck? Whew. Okay, well, we didn't lose power there.
Is it on a timer or something?
No, I don't know what that was. Anyhow, don't touch the light. Anyhow, okay. So it was just, I gave it 3 stars, and that was like a pity 3. And I'm going to tell you why I gave it 3 stars, because I was noticing that when somebody would give it a low rating on Goodreads, the author comes in and comments under the ratings.
What does she say?
You'll have to go look at them. Like, giving excuses as to why things would be a certain way, or I'm sorry you didn't like that, but here's my explanation for it. And nothing really mean, but like, I just didn't want the author to. I get that authors read them, and that's part of the reason why I try to be respectful when I give reviews on Goodreads. But I also am a people pleaser. And so having an author, knowing that the author is going to do that and come and respond, like knowing that they read it and never respond, that's one thing. But knowing that this author is coming in on Goodreads and responding to the Goodreads reviews that are negative to her book. It's intimidating. This book is not as good as everybody's saying it is. I'm just telling you. It was
I think if people rate a book a 1 or a 2, they need to give some sort of explanation why. For example,
yes.
Is it because you just didn't like the trope and you shouldn't have read the book in the first place, or was there something really wrong with it?
Yeah.
And then I think that sometimes that can be good feedback for the author. Like, for example, I won't get into this again, but I read a book that I absolutely loved and I rated it low because there were so many mistakes in it that it took away from being able to read the book fully. That I feel like is feedback the author needs to know so they can fix that. If somebody's just like, I don't like the book because I don't like the trope, well, the author can't fix that. That person shouldn't have read the book, and the author really shouldn't be commenting on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't get it. I don't get it. It intimidates me. It makes me want to be like, I didn't want to leave a response, and I don't know.
I feel like as an author, if you seek reviews, you should use those just as personal feedback. And here's the thing. I work in education, and this is something that I learned in a class once, and I use it in like everyday life when I think about how people react to things. If you're going to have these people who are going to rate something high, they're always going to be happy. It doesn't matter if it was a horrible experience or whatever is going on, they're going to be fine with it and they're not going to care. Then you're going to have people, and if you're on Facebook and any community groups, you already know what I'm talking about. You're going to have people that are going to complain about everything, and you can never make them happy. So you really want to focus on that midpoint, because those are where you're going to get your best feedback to know, like, oh yeah, it looks like a lot of people are saying this or that, and you focus on that. But if you try and justify with everybody who's given you a low rating, it's kind of like those Facebook groups where people are never happy with anything. You're never going to please everyone, and there's certain people that you're never going to please at all.
Yeah. I mean, and I've seen other authors that we know and that we talk to that have said they use the Goodread ratings and the reviews to better their craft, because that's what it's for. It's telling you where your readers, if you never take that information and take it to heart and go, this is what the majority of my readers are. I have a new light, guys, and it is
it's the light show.
It's turning itself off. This light is getting sent back to Amazon. I'm sorry, it just is. Wow, that's bright when you first turn that on. Anyhow, I mean, it's plugged. I don't know what its deal is. Stinking light. We'll have to change it for the next video. Anyhow, if you never take that to heart and take that and go, okay, this is what everybody's saying, so I need to like use that and better my craft, then what's the point in having reviews? If you just make excuses, like you said, and you never correct the, like, if you're like, it's like what you've said before, when it's same with the classroom, right? If you're getting feedback that, only one person is passing this grade and everybody else, this class, and everybody else is failing, there's something on your part that you need to be doing to fix that. That is a you thing. If everybody's passing but 3 or 4, then you're probably doing it right. It's something that they're doing. So you need to really look at it. So
yeah. Okay. We talk about, is it an adult problem or a kid problem? If it's only a few, then it's a kid situation. If it's more than that, then it's an adult problem that we need to figure out how to solve.
Exactly. Okay, listen. Okay, so the next book was another disappointment. This was a TikTok disappointment. This was such a shitty reading week. Okay, so I read Distance by Luna Mason. This is all over TikTok as like this wonderful read. For me, again, it wasn't. I was bored to tears. So this is about...
And Jessica doesn't cry in books.
Yeah, but when I'm bored, apparently I do. So this is the first book in her Beneath the Mask series. And this is about Sienna and Keller. So Keller is a MMA fighter, or a fighter. He's a boxer. And he is in the mafia. And he is the masked mafia enforcer. He's got a lot of jobs. And then he just opens up a nightclub because he doesn't have enough on his plate at this point. And then you have Sienna, who is going through a breakup, and she finds out that her boyfriend's cheating on her. So then, because what we do when we find out our boyfriend's cheating on us is we immediately go out and party at a nightclub when we can finally get out of our sweatpants, because that's what we do in every damn book. Sorry, it's not Luna Mason's fault that we do this in every book, but this is what she does. She goes there, she meets this guy. It's like total insta love. They jump in each other's pants immediately. And I just, even the light thinks it doesn't work. Fucking light. Gosh dang it. It just didn't work. I gave it 3 stars. Again, that was being generous. It wasn't really a 2-star. I was just got bored. And I think if you're like not as into the Mafia trope as I am, you'd probably enjoy it. Maybe. Because I just read so much Mafia that I need something more. You know? Okay. Ready? So then I'm ready. So then I did a reread of Razers Ride. This is the first book in Jamie Bagley's Last Writers MC series. So this is about Beth and Razor. Razor is an MC. This MC is a little different to most MCs because they let women into this MC as a part of the MC and not just as their sweet butts, but they seriously are. The women can be there, but they have to get voted in by the founding members. And the way they get voted in is by sleeping with and getting the votes of the six of the 8 founding members or something like that. And so, you have that. So Razor's quite the man whore. And then you have Beth, who is the pastor who's died at one point, but she is the pastor's daughter. She's the sweetheart of the town. She really likes Razor, but, 2 different worlds. And so other things have happened, but she gets brought in here. There's some death threats made against her. And so Razor goes to protect her. And, there's a lot that happens here, but I do love this series a lot. And I don't care that that's how the other women get into the club. So I think it's good. So then I went and read. Okay, so here's the deal. I skipped book 4 in the Kings of Italy series. And I'm going to tell you guys why. And nobody come at me. So it is an MM book. I do not mind MM. I read it in my reverse harem all the time. But I don't like it when it's straight up MM. I need some V with my P. And so I just skipped it because it wasn't calling to me. I mean, maybe someday. It's just right now it's not my thing. I wasn't in the mood for that. So I read. I skipped it. It didn't mess. You can read these as standalones. Didn't bother me. So I read Mafia Virgin by Mila Finale. This is number 5 in her Kings of Italy series. It is the newest one. It just came out like within the last week. This is about Emma and Giacomo. And the way his name is spelled, I know it's Giacomo, but I always want to call him Giacomo. I can't help it. But Emma is going to fudge me sideways. She's going to college. It won't even come out. Oh, there we go. She's going to college to be a doctor. And she is taking care of her dad, who is dying. And he's the guy. She's a twin sister to the girl from the last book. And the dad's dying. He's back in Canada. She's taking care of him. And then you have Giacomo, who has a sister that nobody knows about, that he's told his family has died, and he's taking care of her. She's in like an asylum type situation. And the head of the Cosa Nostra has come to both of them and said, you 2 have to get married and you have to produce an heir within the next 3 months. Started out 6 months, then jumps down to 3 months, or we're coming after your family. There's reasons behind it. And so they are forced into this marriage, and they're forced into breeding. And you know how I feel about that. So that was 4.5 stars. I did enjoy this one quite a bit because breeding.
Not making a baby, folks. Breeding.
So there you have that one. So then the next book that I did was my advanced listener copy, and that was the second half of the Brutal Duet by BJ Alpha. So this is Love and Brutal Devotion. And this is, again, I told you guys I read this last month, or I listened to this last month. This is the advanced listener copy. This will be out later this month, the second half. So good. I gave it 4.5 stars, but it is the continuation of the story of Tia, who was a foster child, and she had been in love with her foster brother. And when he went off to college, she had been raped by her foster father. And even though she'd given her virginity to her foster brother, the foster brother was protecting her from the foster father, and that transpired in a child, and the state took the child from her. And then you have, several years later, she meets this guy at a nightclub. They fall for each other pretty quickly, and she gets into a relationship with him, and he's hanging out with his foster brothers. One of them is pretty violent, and he's a fighter. And then you have the other one who's this, wealthy, really smart guy, and she gets into a relationship with all three, and they try and get her kid back for her, and it's a thing. It's really good. And the newest book that I'll be getting the art for here on the 18th in the series comes out, in the world it comes out, and it's going to be mixing that world with the Secrets and Lies world, and I'm so excited. So, because we had some revelations at the end of that book. So yay. All right, and my last book will be nice, quick, and easy. Hopefully the light will cooperate. And that is Vipers, run by Jamie Bagley. This is the second book in the Last Rider series. This is about Viper and Willow. Willow is the principal. And at the end of the first book, we find out who Viper is. We don't know who he is throughout the first book. And then we find out who exactly he is. And that's someone that it breaks Willow's heart when she finds out who he is. And she's very upset with him. She had been dating him, or who she thought he was. And he's not who he said he was. And he turns out to be the president. Viper is the president of MMC. We know Viper. We hear of Viper. We don't know who Viper actually is. And she had been dating him, and it was under these false pretenses. And so they break up. They don't have this relationship. She is the principal at the school. And then one night after they've broken up, she is attacked several months later, and she is brutally attacked and doesn't get thrown into the hospital, but she's in the hospital. Like, her spine gets fractured, the whole nine. And then Viper realizes he realizes once he lost her, what he's lost, but he forces her to come and stay with him while he nurses her back to health. So, and I love it because there's times when she tries to escape him, and she can't walk at this point. Like, she's getting her strength back, but she's like constantly trying to escape him, and he's constantly thwarting those plots. And I love it. So, all right. I promise there won't be as many rereads this next week, but I had to. So it was a hard week, and I'll get a new light. All right, guys. So that is what we have for our reading week.
All right. Make sure you leave us those comments. Tell us about the weather where you're at. Tell us about your thoughts about rating books.
Yeah.
And tell us your thoughts about 1-star reads. Like, oh man, Jessica had some doozies this week. What do you think about all this? So leave us all the information in the comments there. Make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.